There is this house. It's not unlike many other houses. Imagine what a house looks like. It is also quite unlike many other houses. Imagine this house again. Given that it is simultaneously not unlike and unlike other houses, it is exactly like all houses. One way it is not unlike other houses is its shape. It has a house-like shape. That's definitely a house, people might say, if shown a picture of it. One way it is unlike other houses is also its shape. It has a subtly unnatural shape. That's definitely a house, but there's something else, something beautiful inside that house, people might say, if shown a picture of it. I don't know if beautiful is the right word. It's more like, it's actually upsetting me now. Please stop showing me that picture, please. Those same people might beg a few moments later. It is a terrible, terrible beauty that I do not understand. Please stop. Okay, the person showing the people the picture might reply because that person might be good and caring. It is hard to say who is good and caring when you know nothing about a person except that they show other people pictures of houses. But there's no sense in going through life presuming awful things about people you do not know. It would be safe to assume that the house is an enclosed structure owned and built by people. It would be weird to assume that the house has a personality, a soul. Why would anyone assume that? It is true. It does. But that was weird to assume that. Never assume that kind of thing. Another way it is unlike other houses is its thoughts. Most houses do not think. This house has thoughts. Those thoughts are not visible in a picture, nor in person, but they find their way into the world through dreams, mostly. While a person sleeps, the house might suddenly have a thought. Taupe is not an emotional catalyst. It's practical and bland. No one cries at any shade of taupe. Or another thought, like, OMG, time. I mean, what is time even? And the sleeping person might experience that thought too. These thoughts may also be shared in the shower. Grumpy thoughts, angry thoughts, thoughts that should be unthought before interacting with the public. Thoughts like, or knuckles crack, fists clench, teeth tighten, eyes stop letting in new any information, and water runs down a rigid face. The thoughts are everywhere. Sometimes they are quite literal and utilitarian. There's a rodent chewing on some drywall behind the headboard. Could be one such thought. Another way it is not unlike other houses is that it houses people. It houses a woman, for instance. Imagine a woman. Good work. It also houses a boy, not quite a man. He is 15. You know how it is. Imagine a 15-year-old boy. No. That was not right at all. Try again. Nope. Nope. Okay, stop. He is tall. He is skinny, with short hair and long teeth that he deliberately hides when he smiles. And he smiles more than he thinks he does. Imagine a 15-year-old boy. No. Again, no. Nope, not even close. Okay. He has fingers that move like they have no bones. He has eyes that move like he has no patience. He has a tongue that changes shape every day. He has a face that changes shape every day. He has a skeletal structure and coloring and hair that change every day. He seems different than you remember. He is always unlike he was before. Imagine. Good. That's actually very good. His name is Josh Creighton. Her name is Diane Creighton. She is Josh's mother. She sees herself in Josh. Josh looks like a lot of things. He changes his physical form constantly. In this way, he is unlike most boys his age. He thinks he is several things at once, many of them contradictory. In this way, he is like most boys his age. Sometimes, Josh takes the form of a curve-billed thrasher, or a kangaroo, or a Victorian-era wardrobe. Sometimes he amalgamates his looks, a fish head with ivory tusks and monarch wings. You have changed so much since I last saw you, people often say to him. People say that to all teenagers, but they mean it more with Josh. Josh doesn't remember how he looked the last time each person saw him. Like most teenagers, he always was what he happens to be in that moment, until he never was that. There was a girl Josh liked, who only liked Josh when he was bipedal. Josh does not like always being bipedal and found this news disappointing. Aww. There was a boy Josh liked, who liked Josh when he was a cute animal. Josh always likes being a cute animal, but Josh's subjective sense of the word cute was different than the boy's. This was another disappointment for Josh, and also for the boy, who did not find giant centipedes cute at all. No. Hello. Welcome, everyone. My name is Cecil Baldwin. Thank you so much for coming. What you just heard is an excerpt from the Welcome to Night Vale novel, written by Joseph Fink and Jeffrey Craner, who we're going to bring up here in just one moment. For now, I'm going to step into my imagined living room over here. I'm waiting on a gentleman caller like John Bernstein, aka Disparition. And let's bring out the writers. First off, we have Joseph Fink. And Jeffrey Craner. Hi. I have 3 gentlemen callers this evening.
Hello.
Mama's going to be so proud. So this is the vast majority of the brain behind Welcome to Night Vale. The writers, actor, musician. We just need Meg up here, and that's
we do need Meg.
That's like a full house, So first off, we're gonna have a little chat, and then we're gonna open it up to audience questions. So let's start with the basics. How did everyone meet?
Let's see. Joseph and I met, I think I definitely met you first out of everyone on the stage back in 2009 when you first moved to New York City. And I was in a theater company called the New York Neo-Futurists. And anyways, Joseph came to our performances and shows. Cecil joined the company in 2010, I believe, or 2011?
I think 11. Yeah.
2011. And so Joseph and I got to know each other over the course of 2009 and talking about writing and things like that. And we got to talking a lot and then hanging out. Eventually, we're like, let's write a play together. And we did. And we wrote a play in the East Village because that's where you write plays. And then in that process of making that play, we sidetracked a lot and talked about podcasts because we love podcasts. And we talked about all the podcasts we like listening to and decided in this that we wanted to make one. So that was the next step. And then Joseph came up with the idea of a small desert town where every conspiracy theory is true. And he had all this brilliant music from John.
Who I met. John and I both worked for a website called Something Awful. Thank you to the 1.5 people. I was. John also hired me for one of my first jobs out of college.
Which was what?
It I moderated the religion board on BarnesandNoble.com.
Okay.
Do you have anything to say
Talking
about
about religion on the internet, I bet went really, really well.
Basically, what it was is Barnes and Noble paid me to like a small amount to babysit like 3 middle-aged posters who just constantly argued with
We
each
just
other.
went nuts.
Okay.
There was a long-standing rivalry between a couple of posters over, I believe it had something to do with Jane Eyre versus a couple of like classic British novels, and there was this disagreement that had lasted for years and years, and Joseph ended up helping us settle the disagreement and get rid of the troublemakers after many years of corporate standstill.
Who wrote Jane Eyre? That was the question.
LOL.
Guys, I got this one.
Yeah, and so there was this thing of, I just knew all these really talented people. So like Cecil, now, you all may not know this. I know Cecil personally, so I know that he has a really great radio voice. And so yeah, I asked him and I lent him my $60 USB microphone, and then John, I just had been putting out for years this really great music. And it was this really happy coincidence that it wasn't until I put the music next to the words, I'm like, oh my god, this music is perfect. Like I was just this thing of like, he does really good music, I know him, so he'll probably let me use it, and we'll see how this goes, and then it fit everything that Night Vale was doing really, really well.
Yeah, John, what was the inspiration for, like, because you had like a catalog of music, you had like so much music that Joseph had to pull from. What was the inspiration originally for all that background music that was not background music at the time?
Well, it's just kind of inspired by things I read and by travel. I like to travel a lot, so it's just kind of inspired by my experience of seeing the world. And, I read a lot of history, so that's kind of a major inspiration. The actual theme of Welcome to Night Vale, that piece was originally inspired by a novel by John le Carré called The Spy Who Came In From the Cold. So I originally wrote a piece that was meant to be a sort of my interpretation of like, the opening of that novel, and that's what became the theme of Welcome to Night Vale.
So there was already kind of a, like there was a tied to a literary thing kind of going in your brain, and I think Joseph must have picked up on that somehow. That's great. So part of the origin story, I think, is worth talking about the neo-futurists. Working with the neo-futurists, you're putting out a lot of material very quickly. How do you think that has, do you want to talk about how that has affected Night Vale and sort of the twice monthly rigor?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's huge. I think there are, I would say there's, I think I can guarantee I can hold this to 3 things, which is one, that I think working in an ensemble is a huge thing, like learning to respond to what other people are doing. Having deadlines is really important, rather than, in the neo-futurists, we write brand new plays every single week, and we do a show 50 weeks out of the year. And being beholden to that schedule is really, really important. So when we started Night Vale, having a schedule and having, me and Joseph and Cecil especially, like the idea of like having a schedule, so that Cecil's like, an episode goes up on the 15th, it is 6 p.m. on the 14th, and I don't have a script. And, staying away from that and staying on top of schedule. I think the other thing is learning how to work with other people and listen and respond in that way. And, so much of the influence of how we write the show comes from knowing what you can do, and you too, John, as you tour and do the live shows. Like, we do so much casting or directing through casting, because we know what people can do, because we've worked with these people so much. And then finally, just the diversity of the menu of the neo-futurist show, Too Much Light Makes the Baby Go Blind. There's a lot of funny stuff on there, but there's also a lot of political stuff and personal stuff and bizarro poetry things that you don't really understand at the moment when you see them. And I think that type of balance taught me a lot, at least, about how to do that in all storytelling, even if it's 30 disparate plays. When you have a 30-minute podcast, even, you can have some of that same spirit.
Yeah, it's so funny. Night Vale is often described as, it's Stephen King meets Lake Wobegon. It's Neil Gaiman meets. It's always like X meets Y. in the world of Night Vale, what would you like to see a Night Vale crossover with?
I mean,
Star Trek Night Vale?
yes. Yes. Yes.
Star Wars Night Vale?
Yes.
Last night in Milwaukee, I proposed a video game that would just basically be it would be Madden, except it would be a Night Vale, the Welcome to Night Vale version of Madden.
Where you like, you learn about the rules for sudden serpent appearance.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind like a crossover with Grim and Bango. Great. I'm gonna pander to the 3 people in the crowd.
Grand Theft Auto, Welcome to Night Vale?
Yes. Oh my god, that was so great.
I think any number of the cooking shows, like Chopped.
Yes!
Really fantastic.
Yes.
I just
That
want
needs to happen.
the Night Vale, the entire Night Vale touring party to go on Chopped. Is what I would like.
Did we like at one time discuss like the hierarchy of who would do well on Chopped?
Oh yeah,
God.
Meg would do great.
Meg would kill it.
Jessica would kill it.
Jessica would kill it.
Yeah.
Will Wheaton, I think, would do very well. Joseph, you do very
I
well.
think I wouldn't be as good as Meg or Jessica. I think I'd do okay.
Yeah.
If you made it to the dessert round, you would kill it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I think I'd do good there.
I would be the guy running around like setting things on fire,
Yes.
throwing stuff around. You know.
The Chop Talk.
So you know, we all kind of met and we started working on this show, and I want to get kind of first impressions of where were you when you first realized that kind of the ground was changing, that people beyond our immediate relatives and significant others were listening to the show.
I mean, the most memorable, I think, like it was well after things had blown up for us. This is a very directional mic. I was holding it like this, and this makes a big difference. Hello, everyone. Just imagine what I'd been saying previous to this.
Okay.
The point that really felt different to me was that first real live show we did, the one on condos in the
One of my favorites.
in the Booksmith in San Francisco.
Oh yeah.
Because that was one where, so it just was a case of like you and Meg were in actually the Neo Future show in San Francisco. So you guys were out there for a bit. I came out to visit Meg, and so just there happened to be this thing where all 3 of us were in San Francisco, and I realized, we could do a live show. And we had live shows planned, but we hadn't done a real one yet. We had done little bar space in New York City stuff. And so I wrote this script that became Condos, and I didn't love it. Like I obviously I went to sent it to Jeffrey and went through with it if I didn't think it was good enough, but it wasn't. It didn't feel like the best thing. I was very only okay on it, and then we all got together the day of and did like a read through. I remember.
Yeah.
And then we did 2 shows at this bookstore that offered us a space to do a performance. There were 2 350 sold out shows, and I was still doing the sound effects from my computer in the crowd. And I remember it was the first time I'd watched people in real time listen to the show, and like that thing of you talking and them reacting, it all happening in the room, and it was like the last time we went through the Bay Area, we did a 2,000 seat show in Oakland, and it was really amazing. But I don't think I'll ever have a moment that just it was like a turning point of like, oh my God, this is something.
It was like a ground. It was like a groundswell of people.
Yeah.
So there were 2 back-to-back shows, and they had to get everyone out and then get everyone in. And we went out and signed stuff. And I remember a friend of ours came to see that show, and she was standing on the street trying to like break through the crowd to say hello to us. And someone literally said, "Are they handing out free weed in there?"
Oh my god.
San Francisco, hate Ashbury, okay? So let's keep that in mind. But yeah, and then someone else asked if Justin Bieber was inside.
Oh my god.
And I think that was so new to all of us. Jeffrey, kind of the first moment where you were like, oh,
Yeah.
man, something is happening.
Yeah, it was a similar thing for me. I wasn't at the San Francisco show, but I was at the one like a week or two following at Roulette, which is a really cool venue in Brooklyn, and that was like that was the first big show we kind of planned of like, oh, we're gonna have ticket sales. This will be a giant venue. It's 400 seats, and it was. It was a similar thing where I was just realizing like the scope of things and seeing people. I was walking through the crowd, just looking at the people dressed as some people dressed as the dog park.
What?
People dressed as Erica and things like that. It was really amazing. So it was a really remarkable moment where you realize, oh my God, this is how people. These are the people experiencing this show. Because it really was just a thing you put out online and you get tweets and emails from people, but you don't really know who they are, and you see them in person, you're like, oh yeah, this is really tremendous. It was really shocking to realize like what a big thing it was to so many people.
I remember, I remember with that show, like, we were really nervous because it was a 450 seat room.
It was big. It was
huge.
It's a huge room.
Our last show had been in a tiny back bar space, and we were like, let's do this. We're going to rent a 450 seat theater, put up that money, and see what happens. And hopefully it'll sell enough. And it sold out in less than 10 seconds. We put tickets on sale, and 10 seconds later it had sold out.
I actually found that email that you wrote that day. That was literally, it said like, you guys. And it said less than 10 seconds. And that was it. That was I went back and found that. So that's interesting. Talking about, the reaction of making the podcast versus making the live shows. We've been touring for what? Almost 2 years now? Maybe a year and a half? We've gone to countries all over Europe and Canada and all around the United States. And we're about ready to go to Australia. And what has been the difference between writing for the live shows versus writing for the podcast itself? And then the third follow-up question is writing for the novel.
I'll do that, yeah. The number one thing, anytime we write anything, is really just thinking about what the medium is and thinking about, like, how are people taking this in? Like, how's the audience receiving this? And the podcast is one thing, but it is set and it is recorded, and everybody will hear the exact same show when it downloads. And when we do the live show, we have to know that that's not the case. You're actually on stage to work with people, and we could write it in the exact same way we would do a live show or a podcast, and it would be fine. But
Condos kind of felt like that. Condos felt like an episode that was put on stage.
And as we kind of worked through Condos, and then the debate was a little bit more that had so many characters, was a little bit more like kind of bordering on actually theater, like radio theater style with so many parts and so much dialogue. But there's this thing about like realizing so much of what makes the live show work are the actors and John and your music, and everything is about people playing off the energies of each other. And so the thing that an actor can do is recognize, make eye contact with an audience and take the audience's energy and breathe it back out. And so we write in a little bit more of a way that keeps in mind energy. Like there's a matter of like building scenes with words and then allowing you to build with your body on stage. So that's really the main thinking in how we do that. It's a very subtle difference, but it is thinking it through. And I would say more than anything, it's I always, when I write things for the podcast, I say them out loud just because I want to hear them, because they're going to be said out loud. But especially for when writing for the live shows. Like, I will stand and think about, like, what are the beats here? Like, what are the moments? What are the pauses? Where are you turning the page? Because a page turn is this, as I've learned from you, is this really dramatic moment in the script. And it can really, like, have a really cool beat in the show.
Did you find it hard to kind of go from that performance writing to the fiction for the novel?
It wasn't hard. No, I mean, in a way that writing a novel can be not hard.
Is anything not hard about writing a novel?
But it was, we just had to kind of keep in mind what we were doing, which is, we knew there was going to be an audiobook and you were going to perform it, but we also just couldn't write to an audiobook. We wanted to write it as first a book, and so when writing that, like with the podcast and with the live show stuff, I have a specific number of times that I say everything that I write out loud before I pass it on to Jeffrey, just because that's just how I work out, finding word combinations that are impossible for the human mouth to say and stuff like that, or just weird rhythms, and so you just have to really think about that. And with the novel, it was a lot more about thinking about, visual rhythm, sentence structure, paragraph length. It also allowed us to try some stuff that you can't do in audio. There's a point where we have a very long sentence. It goes a few pages.
Oh my gosh.
And it was very enjoyable to craft, and it's the kind of thing you can't really do in a live show.
I'll do it.
All right, next
Yes.
script.
I will do it. No, actually, that was actually one of my favorite days recording the audiobook, was doing that last. It's like 3 pages, a 3-page
Holy
sentence, and me and the audio production engineer, we were in it. We were in the zone for that one. So John, I know that the sound of Night Vale has kind of changed a lot over the 3 years. We changed up the intro. What was the impetus for that?
I had to always kind of be doing different things musically and not really stay in the same style. So over the summer I started learning mandolin, just because it's an instrument that is used in a lot of different styles of music. It has very diverse capabilities, but it's also very light, portable, which is something I wanted. So I was just in the process of playing with the mandolin, and Joseph said for the new sort of, season, as it were, it might be fun to try the new theme. So, I was in London and just kind of soaking up the vibes of the city, and that was kind of that, and the mandolin is kind of the style I went in for the new theme. But overall, the style of the music in the background just kind of changes depending on my own. I'm always just trying to push myself to go in different directions, so I think that's why it's changed.
2 questions. Are we going to hear a new theme for next year?
I hope so. Sure.
I hope so too.
Yeah. Okay. And the second question is, now I know in the live shows you like to secretly cover other songs. How many songs have you covered on stage while I was talking, John?
Probably only like 8 or 9.
8 or 9? Okay.
Usually, because often during in our current live show, the community calendar that has purely improvised piano underneath, so sometimes I'm just kind of lost in my thoughts doing piano. Sometimes I'll sneak in a cover depending on like when we were in Fargo earlier this year, I played the theme from the movie Fargo.
Excellent. I had asked a couple people on Twitter. You may know Twitter. There's just a handful of people I know. But somebody gave me a really good question to ask you guys, and it is, how many incarnations did the book go through? Did you have, how was it about different people, or did it go through any kind of process where it was going in a different direction?
We didn't really have any. Really, this is the only incarnation of save for obviously drafts of it.
Sure.
But the book as it exists now is pretty much the same book that was the first draft, just making more sense because we worked out a lot of the kinks in the language, and because we both wrote it, there was we had to work out some continuity things, because I would write a chapter not knowing what Joseph had written in the chapter previously, in terms of description. I mean, we knew what the plot was going to be of every chapter, the arc of it. But sometimes it'd be I'm describing City Hall this way. Meanwhile, in the previous chapter, Joseph had described it in another way.
I think we got all the way to copy editing, and it wasn't. And they were the ones that noticed that we just kept changing the description of Jackie's car.
Yeah,
the two of us had come to two completely different cars, and we're just in each of our respective chapters describing our car differently.
I remember discovering that, and we had this thing back and forth. It was I remember thinking it had this pinstripe. But no, it really didn't. It was we crafted those 2 characters early on, and then separately, and then brought those together, and then we formed our story based off of these 2 characters we built, and we just agreed upon the story, built the structure and outline, and then went from there. But there was never this isn't going in the right direction, let's scrap this book and do a different book. There was never anything like that.
Are there any missing characters that didn't quite make the cut?
No, I don't. I really don't think so. We worked. It went pretty well. I would say, like, we worked pretty smoothly. We went from, we wrote like the first, I don't know, 5-6 chapters pretty early on, like early fall 2013, just to have something to show publishers and talk about. And then once we actually sat down to write the book, it was, I think, 8 months from that to a final draft. And so things, there was stuff that got cut, but it was all just like a paragraph here and there. I don't think there was, I honestly
There wasn't
can't
like a
think about it.
lost, deleted scene